Minecraft is a game with a whole lot of very green biomes, like jungles, plains, and about a billion different types of forest, but this is much more my style. Snow, ice, and pine trees as far as the eye can see. Now granted, the entire world isn't like this, but I do have a good couple hundred blocks in just about every direction, which is enough that I shouldn't really have to interact with any of the warm biomes for any reason other than to gather resources from them. Unless, of course, I want to limit myself to literally just spruce wood and snow, but considering my building palette's already pretty small, just because of the fact that I'm not that great at building, I'm not going to disadvantage myself by trying to, only have 2 blocks, essentially. Instead, I am just going to go get other resources. And speaking of getting other resources, that is actually the very, very first thing I'm going to do. Because the thing is, I need food. Like in any Minecraft world, I need food to actually survive. And while I could punch some grass, get some seeds, and grow some wheat, that's boring because this is not normal Minecraft. I'm playing with a couple mods today, namely the Create mod and Farmer's Delight. And Farmer's Delight is a food mod, and it adds some foods that are really, really good. If we just look at some random one like egg sandwich, that is already better than most vanilla foods. And if we go to the really good ones, you can see that they are just absolutely insane. Unfortunately, though, these foods are kind of hard to make justifiably and need modded crops, namely onions, tomatoes, lettuce, and rice. So those are the first thing I'm going to go ahead and get, and none of them spawn in snowy biomes. So I have to go find myself some warmer climates to try and find the wild versions of these crops, and then I can kind of domesticate them and grow them here. So it's time to go on an adventure. It started out pretty good in that I immediately found some wild crops, but it turns out Farmer's Delight also adds wild versions of the vanilla crops, and these were carrots. So I continued on my journey past a whole host of fun different biomes until I stumbled upon this village, which had nothing in it, but nearby there were some more wild crops. And at this point, I had looked up what the ones I wanted looked like, so I knew right off the bat that these were onions, and that's one of the 4 done. Pretty shortly after that, I found some cabbages sitting on the beach, and practically right next to them, there were some rice growing in the water. But then my luck turned, tripped, and fell in a ditch because I wandered around for another hour. For the first half of that, I was kind of just wandering around aimlessly, and I did manage to find pretty much all of the vanilla crops like potatoes, beetroots, melons, pumpkins, and I do need those for a lot of the recipes. They're just not particularly interesting, so I figured I'd find them along the way, and I suppose I was right. But by the time I had gathered all of those, I was getting kind of sick of not finding tomatoes, so I caved and looked up what biomes they spawn in. Turns out savannas and deserts were where I needed to be, and I had not found a single one of those the entire time. But I wasn't quite to the point of wanting to look up a seed map, so I just kept exploring and exploring and exploring until finally I found the world's smallest savanna biome. In fact, there were 3 of them, and luckily, where there were small savannas, there was very quickly a much larger savanna that actually had tomatoes in it. And that is the last crop I needed, so now all I had to do was get back from this random savanna 6,000 blocks from spawn. Okay, after a very long walk, I am back in the snow area. I've decided to kind of set up shop on this frozen river right next to a nice cave where we have some resources, and I think I'm going to build my starter base right there, but not yet. Before I do that, I want to try and start to get these plants kind of repopulating, because I have a very small amount of each of the seeds, and I think onions and rice are kind of their own seeds, so I want to get a couple plant plots going and start to grow some of these before I can actually really use them for food at all, just because I don't really have enough. Problem is, though, I don't really have a whole lot of flat open space to actually plant crops in. I mean, everything here is pretty much steep slopes or frozen river, so there's not a whole lot of great choices. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into the cave a little bit, flatten this part out and fill it with dirt, and then we'll plant all of the crops there. It doesn't need to be pretty for now, just a place where I can actually grow them. Plus, flattening out this section will give me a decent bit of stone to work with, because while I do have a random assortment of items like iron and gold, I actually don't have any of the basic items that I need, so this will get me enough stone that I'll pretty much be set for a good while. There we go. I think that should be enough space. I am also completely out of dirt because while I do have a decent bit of cobblestone now, most of it's in that chest, I really have like no dirt to make farmland out of, but there should be enough space that I can plant all of the crops I have. So I'm going to go ahead and, do that. Well, that's all of the onions, tomatoes, and whatever the third one was, cabbages, planted. But rice is being annoying in that it doesn't let you place it outside of shallow water, which of course isn't actually that much of an issue. I just made this little thing over here, and there should be enough space for all of the rice. And I think rice is actually regrowable, so it like grows 2 blocks high, and I think I have some bones on me so I can test that theory out. Yeah, it grows 2 blocks high. I'm pretty sure you harvest this bit and the bottom survives, and I didn't get any rice from that. Oh, it wasn't fully grown. Yeah, okay, cool. But the bottom survives, so this stuff will, like, I won't really need to expand it too much in that I can't. Okay, no, you can make rice. So I could expand this if I want to, but I don't really need to because it regrows pretty well. And then the rest of these should slowly grow, and I hope the fact that snowing doesn't matter. I'm pretty sure snow can't, like, accumulate on farmland, but while all of those are growing, because I kind of need them to before we can start making food, I think I'm going to start gathering resources to actually make a starter base. I have something that I want to build in mind, kind of like a really snowy A-frame cabin right here. So I'm going to start gathering resources for that, like fill in this hole so that I actually have a place to build, go gather some like rocks, some iron, gold, the kind of stuff that I need and probably should have gotten a while ago because you just need it for Minecraft. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and gather all of that stuff. So I guess let's go ahead, jump into a little bit of a grind lapse. Horrible name, don't know why I decided to call it that, but it was quite productive. I started off by just gathering an insane amount of dirt, hopefully more than I'll ever need. I really felt like I needed a lot of dirt after not having enough for that farmland, so I chose the nuclear option of destroying an entire top of a hill. Then I moved on to other productive things like getting enough wood to last me probably till the end of this episode, maybe, because I tend to use a whole lot of spruce logs in my builds. It's kind of a problem. And then I hopped into the caves and gathered a whole lot of andesite. I'll need just an insane amount of this for when I get into the create mod later, and knowing that mod, I'll burn through this amount in just about 5 minutes because you use it like crazy. And then I kind of gathered a whole bunch of normal ores, which I'm not showing here because I recorded it horribly, and you are not missing out on much. Well, that was quite productive. I gathered a whole lot of a couple of resources, and then I also, of course, got the basics, iron, gold, a ton of copper for some reason, probably just because it's really easy to get a lot of. I did a lot more mining than I actually showed in that little time-lapse because the form I was doing in the time-lapse would have, literally been just like real time of me mining. So yeah, I have all the resources I need for like probably a decent bit now. And we can kind of move on to other things, but before I build my starter base, which I did gather a lot of resources for as well, I want to make my farm a little bit better. Because the thing is, well, currently it's replaced with carrots because I ran out of bread to eat, and carrots are the best, like, food source you can just grow and then, like, immediately eat. So I replaced it all with carrots, but I want to make it bigger so I can have carrots and all of the other crops and all the vanilla crops and stuff. So that's going to be the project I want to do before the starter base, because if I do this first, then it'll kind of be like, it'll just grow while I'm building the starter base, and that'll just be nice to have. So we're going to go ahead and upgrade my crops here a little bit, just make it a lot bigger. And since I gathered a whole lot of dirt, I can actually make it bigger, and I'm going to try and make it a little bit prettier as well, but don't expect anything too crazy. I don't know why I said I'd make it prettier because, well, I haven't done that, but I did make it a lot bigger, and that's really what I needed. So we now have enough space for all of the crops except for pumpkins and melons because they're just, like, not really as useful, and they take up a ton of space compared to the amount of, like, actual yield you get from them. We've got carrots, we've got beetroots. I still need to populate a bunch more. I think these are potatoes, which I also just don't have a ton of. Cabbage, tomato, onion. We've got all the crops planted. And now that we have kind of the ingredients down for food, we need a place to cook them, and that brings us back to starter base time. I mean, granted, I could just put all the cooking implements that Farmer's Delight adds in out here, but that's boring, and it also doesn't give me an excuse to make a starter base literally right now, which is really what I want to do. And I already actually have a design for a starter base built in a creative world, because that tends to kind of be how I build. I build in a creative world first, and then I somehow transfer it over to a survival mode. But the way that I transfer it over is kind of always difficult, because before I played with mods, I just, like, opened 2 instances of Minecraft and meticulously copied the entire build over, and that took hours for even like a small build. But luckily, we are playing with mods, so there are much better methods to get a build from one world to another. More specifically, schematics. I've made a couple things here, a schematic table, a schematic cannon, and a empty schematic, and what I've done is I've gone over into my creative world, I've taken a snapshot of my house there, and what I can do is I can go into this table and I can load that house onto a schematic. Then I can place this thing down and it will tell me exactly where to place all of the blocks to build my starter base, which is really helpful, but I still have to actually place the blocks myself, and that's a lot of work. So instead, we're going to use this schematic canyon. You put this placed schematic in there and it'll use gunpowder, as it says, to build the build for you, but it of course still needs the blocks. So you can give it a clipboard and it'll give you a full material list of everything you need to actually build the thing. So all I have to actually do is gather these resources, put a chest next to this thing, give it all the resources, give it some gunpowder, and then we can just watch it build the base for me, which is just about the laziest way to do a build, but I love it. Now luckily I already have most of the resources for this just from my resource gathering earlier, but there are just a couple things we are missing if we go to the very start of this list. Grass blocks, redstone lamps, and super glue. The grass blocks I don't have because I just don't have silk touch. I do kind of need them. The thing is, the schematic is like very literal, so if it sees a grass block, it's going to say I need a grass block, not like a dirt, which is really, I'm just going to place the dirt after the fact and the grass will grow on it. It'll be fine. The super glue is kind of just a mistake. It shouldn't be there. I don't know why there's super glue there. This build does not involve super glue in any way, so I'm going to ignore that one, and I've set my schematic cannon to just skip the missing block, so it'll skip the grass and the super glue, but the redstone lamps I do kind of need. I was building this, and I kind of forgot that redstone lamps require like glowstone from the nether. So I'm going to skip them for now. It's only 4 of them. They're just kind of like shoved in windows to make the windows glow, and that effect can kind of be done with just like torches or lanterns or literally any other light emitting block. So I'm just going to pretend that I have those 3 things, and we're going to go ahead and print this starter base, which of course is most satisfyingly done in a time lapse. So let's go ahead and jump into one of those. You know, I think I kind of nailed this build, both in like the theme I was trying to do and also the kind of like feeling that goes along with it. I think I did a really good job with the snow on the roof and making it not just seem like a covering of snow. It really feels like there's a good couple feet of snow on there. And then there's also, it feels like the kind of place that if it was like a whiteout blizzard, I'd like want to be in it just because it's like so cozy. So I'm really happy with this. Also, it's weirdly my first time really doing a build with Deep Slate, despite the fact that it's been in the game for like years at this point, I think. Yeah, years. And it contrasts really well with like the white snow. It just makes it kind of like pop a little bit. I think it's really great. But of course, like any build, it has problems. Mainly the interior. The problem is that it doesn't exist, but we'll get to that in a second because there are also 2 other problems that I want to solve at the same time. They're just kind of little things that I overlooked when building it, which is that this wall that you can like, barely see is a little bit bland. It's just like really flat, and I don't like it. Despite the fact that you like pretty much can't see it, I really don't like how it looks, so I want to fix that. And also this like section of snow has the same problem. It's just like really flat. It's all the exact same block, so I want to put a little bit of variation in there too, and I kind of have a plan for that. Something that I do like a lot when I'm building is fireplaces. I'll put like a fireplace on the interior here, and then we'll have like a little pile of bricks that's like the exterior of the fireplace on this side, which will break up that texture a little bit, and also adds a little bit of congruency to be like, yeah, the interior of this build actually matches up with the exterior of this build, which I always kind of like having that little bit of realism added to it. So I'm going to put a fireplace down here, but I'm also going to put one up here, and that gives me the gradient great excuse to not have snow on it because it's going to be hot because it's a fireplace. So all of the snow can be melted away and it'll give a nice like variation of like color in this. It won't just be all stark white. We'll have a little bit of bricks in there, probably a little bit of brown exposed roof because the roof is theoretically all like this color, and it should look really good. But I'm going to save that for later because I want them to actually match up with the interior fireplaces. So that's what I'm going to build first. But before we do that, I need a little bit more room. The actual interior of this building is like kind of small, with this whole section pretty much reserved for like a staircase or an elevator, something to get between the floors. I only really have enough space for probably 2 rooms in here, one on the base floor and one up top, and that is certainly not enough space for all the stuff I want to put in here. So I'm going to go ahead and dig out this wall a little bit because I very purposely built this thing right up against a cliff so I could do just that. And I'm also making this hole quite a bit wider than the actual interior of the building itself because this bit is only like 6 blocks wide and I need a full 9 blocks for my chest room, so I can have like 5 blocks in the middle and then 2 sets of chest on either side, which is just another reason that I kind of have to do it inside of the cliff. I think that should be good. I dug a ginormous hole and I ended up poking through the ceiling into little spots there, but I will just fix that whenever I go ahead and redo the like outside of the roof to add the chimney in. And I was going to go ahead and just like kind of build this in survival, do it by hand, just kind of feel it out. But then I got a little carried away. I went into a creative test world to kind of mess with some ideas, and all of a sudden I have a full schematic of the entire interior and also all of the resources. So I'm just going to build a schematic cannon because that is easy, and I like things being easy. Although I'm not going to do a time lapse this time. I'm hoping that that much gunpowder is good. We're just going to go for it. Because I think it's kind of fun to see the schematic cannon function, and you don't really get to see that at like from the time-lapse perspective, but it's always fun to try and guess where the first blocks are going to get placed. It looks like it's just like replacing grass at the moment, and I normally do the thing where I like build the build and then afterwards I go through and I'm like, and this is this and this is this and I made all of this stuff. This time I'm just going to do it as it builds the thing, although it's not going to be uncut because that would be stupid. Also, I really wish it told me how many shots the schematic cannon was going to have to take to build this build, because it tells you how many shots you have left. I have a good 4,000, which I think is enough, but I'm like slightly worried about not having enough gunpowder, because if you don't have enough gunpowder, it just like freezes and it would suck. It wouldn't suck as much because I'm not doing a time lapse, but I really wish it would just tell you, because I feel like that has to be something that's like pretty easy to calculate. Anyway, it's pretty much done at the first level now, so we can kind of start the tour. I've got a little entryway here with the first of the 2 fireplaces, and also it has its exterior bit. Also did just a little bit of terrain integration here, a little bit of podzol, some mushrooms on it, just helps it fit in a little bit more, I think. And also, my favorite thing ever. This is an unlit campfire on top of a crate of potatoes, but it looks so perfectly like a stack of firewood. I just love it. It looks so good. Other than that, it's pretty basic. We've got these canvas carpets down from Farmer's Delight, which looks so much nicer than the normal carpets. They look actually like a little rustic, kind of keep the cozy feeling, as opposed to the vanilla ones, which are like really perfect, kind of. I mean, like, that's like they're just too perfect. They look too nice. Then we've got all the crafting stations, and of course chests. Lots and lots of chests, which I've made the same mistake I normally do in a chest room, which is I put arches here, so I can't really label 4 of these chests, but I decided to forego the trapdoors so I can actually label like a little bit more of them, but it should be still perfectly functional nonetheless, because this is a ton of chests and I won't even come close to filling all of them. And it looks like my worries about running out of gunpowder are very unfounded, considering I'm pretty sure I'm about halfway done at this point. It's been like 500 out of the 4,000 that I started with, so I think we'll be okay. And now the upstairs is pretty much done. We've got the kitchen here, another nice fireplace, very pretty inside and out. Absolutely love how the outside of this one looks. It's kind of, you know, all melted snow and stuff. I put in a bunch of cut diorite and cut calcite to really give it that like wet snow appearance. I just think this turned out great. It really breaks up the texture of the roof, so I love it. And then we've got the much more functional tiny fireplace that has the cooking pot on top of it. This is how you cook like most of the Farmer's Delight stuff. Some of the stuff you can craft in a crafting table, but this is how you cook all of the like really good stuff, like chicken soup, which is probably great, but it doesn't show the stats there, so I have no idea. Also got a cutting board here, which is used for some Farmer's Delight things. You can like cut lamb chop, I think, into smaller bits of lamb chop. Yeah, you can do that recipe. So that's what that's used for. It's also got a bunch of purposes for just like vanilla Minecraft, so I gotta have one of those somewhere. I think I also put one in the chest room though. Overall, this room, very great. Added a bunch of cabinets that I'm never going to use because I'll just forget that I put items in there. And then we've got the bedroom. This is kind of the last room of the house. Got a nice bed, not nighttime, but it's very dysfunctional. This is the only part that actually like matters at all. But I decided to put another fireplace in here, kind of just for fun, but also like in a place that looks like this. I imagine you want a fireplace in every single room because it would be cold. Now that interior is all done, I think it's time we get to the original point of what this episode was supposed to be about, and that is food. Remember at the beginning when I was like, I need food, so I'm going to go get ingredients, and then I never cooked it? Well, now that I have a proper kitchen up here, let's go ahead and cook some stuff. So I've been looking through these recipes here just to see what I can like actually make with the resources I have. And it turns out, while I do have literally like every single crop except for like melons and pumpkins growing here, most of the Farmer's Delight recipes, shockingly, require some sort of like animal product. Like literally most of them do. This one requires pork, you know, they mostly require meat. But I found one recipe called vegetable soup. This one, those stats are better than anything in vanilla, and it's made with just 4 vegetables and a bowl. So I think this is going to be my meal of choice, at least for now, until we actually like properly automate something. Which won't be for like a while. It's not even going to be like next episode or probably the one after that I automate a proper thing, because that requires like a ton of create mod stuff, and I haven't even started on that. That will probably be the next episode, the create mod stuff. But we're going to have vegetable soup for a while, even though it looks like gruel. It has great stats, and of course it's easy to make, which is most of the reason I chose it. Though not as easy as I thought it would be, apparently, because I've been kind of neglecting my crop fields. I was going to make a full stack of vegetable soup, but I only have 25 cabbage and beetroot, so I guess we're going to settle for like not quite half a stack, but I'm sure it'll be fine. So if I understand this correctly, we literally just put the correct ingredients in and it'll just start cooking. It works like a furnace, but it gets heated by this thing, so you don't actually have to provide it with any fuel, which is super nice. And then we get a unplated vegetable soup, which is served on a bowl, and we do that, and we get vegetable soup. This thing also has the comfort effect for 3 minutes, which is essentially just like super low level regen, which is kind of a nice bonus, especially for something that's this easy to make, which is just great. Fortunately though, I literally ate carrots before I record this clip, which I'm realizing now is kind of dumb because I can't eat this right now. But we'll get to it eventually. You know, after I spam jump under a trapdoor for like 5 minutes. You know, I'm starting to think that this might not actually be a good way to actually decrease hunger, because in the time that it took me to decrease my hunger enough that I can eat one of these soups, like a lot of them have finished. And I've also realized that they only stack to 16 because it stopped plating them. But I bet if I take this, yeah, it continues to plate more. So they only stack to 16, but honestly, they're so good that I kind of don't care. And now I'm going to hurt myself, because the real power of having really good food is that it heals you really, really quickly. And that can only really be showcased if I'm not at full health. Okay, I am at half a heart now, so let's see if a single one of these soups will heal me to full health. And it says it won't, but I think because of the potion effect this gives, I think eating this will actually get me all the way to full health, because I get a full 3 minutes of like regen. Oh, I'm not. I was like, why am I not healing fast? There we go. Okay, 2 soups. Kind of cheating, but 2 soups, and it is healing me like crazy. There we go, full health. It did take a while because the comfort effect is honestly pretty slow. I'd say it's maybe about half a heart every 2 seconds or so. I mean, it's passive regen, and honestly, any amount of passive regen I will take. That's pretty good, but it is quite slow. It's not gonna like save me from dying in lava or anything. But now that I'm done eating my soup, I can just like put the bowls back in. And if I had more tomatoes, or not tomatoes, radishes, I could just like immediately get more soup. So I'd say this all works pretty well. And now that I've completed my original mission for this episode, I am going to go ahead and end it here. Next time we are going to tackle the create mod, or at least start to tackle the create mod, because that thing is huge. I'm excited to do it though. I hope you guys are too. For now, like if you liked, subscribe if you feel like it, and